Order.
Aerial photos.
Got it? No participants? All right, and then I guess we should check a little later to see if they or maybe they'll call me if
That
that's
has
the
the
case.
couple.
All right, meeting's called to order. Would you call the roll, please, Liz?
Marty Mayo,
Here.
Lisa Pappas.
Here.
Tim Redmond.
There you are.
I'm here and I'm very pleased to start on time.
Will
Well, it was on time.
Is the recording on?
All right.
Is the recording on?
Yes,
Yes, and.
It's all because
no.
of Christie also that we're
Yes,
starting on
that's
time.
exactly
We
right.
want to have this
Sorry to be late.
be broadcast to the world that
Yes.
Christie has once again come through.
Yeah, it was
What would we do without you?
due to her, anybody who might have been here would see us, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, everyone received the agenda. There may be some slight tweaks to it, but not too much. Any suggestions for changes here within the realm?
I could give a very brief update on the task force, sustainability task force.
You know, maybe we should put that regularly on report of commission. Report of task
Okay.
force. All right, that'll be where it'll come in. Any other suggestions here?
Where did you put it on?
We'll put, in the future, we'll put sustainability task force under reports of other commissions. And we'll change, I don't know, as Parks and Recreation and TAP, have they merged already or not?
They have not,
Have they done?
but I think it will be next year.
Oh,
I think
okay.
they're all rotating on.
All right.
I know.
So can we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Yeah, I will say.
Seconded, all right, moved and seconded. We do a voice vote or, yeah,
You can do that.
all in favor, aye?
I-
Okay, good.
Yes, it is, any opposed?
Yeah, I didn't hear any, but, yeah, all right.
Still have to
Anybody
ask.
opposed? Nobody out there, okay. All right, approval of minutes. Thank you again for very comprehensible minutes. We had one notation.
yeah,
Lisa, did you make that change?
I did make that change. So under millage renewal report, I've added another sentence. It says the millage passed with 68% of voters voting in favor. And that was Lisa's.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a good change.
Yep,
Yeah.
all right. The rest look good to me. Any other changes? All right, again, we have a motion for approval of the minutes of meeting 208. So moved. Jim, did I hear that?
So moved.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay.
All right,
All
all in favor, say aye.
right.
All opposed? There you go. You've cleared another hurdle, Liz. All right, welcome and public comments. Well, we have no one on Zoom, so we have Mr. Brett Wisely, is that right?
That's correct.
Brett Wisely is an owner of the property on Joy Road, for which we've been talking many sessions regarding parking lot.
This is the
Brett, you want to tell us what your circumstance is?
wisely fixed property.
Wisely.
Yeah, it's my sons, I'm representing my son. It used to be my mother-in-law's, it's been in their family for almost 200 years.
Wow. Wow.
Uh,
200 years, well.
So,
Wow.
as Barry knows, this has been a long drawn-out process, trying to hammer out all of these contingencies. Our main concern was where the parking lot was gonna go, and it's not long ago, we noticed bulldozers in the woods there, right on the Van Curler side. Now, the whole idea was that the parking lot would go on the property we're selling to you guys. And so that was our first inkling that there was, might be another plan. So I may ask to be on the agenda in January, see how things go between now and then. But my son went over and talked to him and he said they were exploring options for a parking lot in the woods. Now, he was kind of upset because part of this is a swap parcel that my son would get from the woods there about 35 feet. And there's, you can't touch a blade of grass in that basically. And they're bulldozers or skid steers, I guess. Trying to find an area to park some cars. But we thought the whole idea was to put the parking lot to the east and basically old farmland and keep it as far from his house as possible. Now, this would be right next to his house. So that's one of the main concerns, is to be very close. least it looks like. I don't know what they've determined there.
That's Cody.
Yeah,
Cody's house.
yeah, exactly. Also, I want to point out, nothing online says you only have a short period for public comment, so you might want to put that in there. Like people that come 3 minutes or whatever. So just so you know. Real quick point is on the purchase agreement I have, it's misnumbered. So you might want to check that.
What do you mean by this number?
I think number 17 on. It goes back down. 11, 12,
In terms of page numbers?
no, paragraph numbers. Yeah, at least the one I printed out, it's 14, 15, 16, 17. And then it goes to 9, 10, 11, 12. I know Mariah said in the notes she was a stickler, so. At least the one I printed out, hopefully that's not how it is. So anyway, I understood the LPC wanted the property for public access. So we kind of want to find out. Are you going to put a parking lot in the woods or over there? We'd like to try to influence where that parking lot goes, if possible. If it's going to go in the woods, maybe not right next to them like that. And also, and then it brings up the question, do you really need all that property? You know, would you consider a different offer, like with the back 5 acres? Something like that, or like we talked about originally, conservation easement or something like that. Because if things have changed, then, you know, there's room for more discussion on that. Now, we had signed a purchase agreement and amendments, but I guess they were never approved by township supervisor, what I understand. So that's not in effect. The revised purchase agreement speaks to there being an agreement in effect already. And I don't know if that's correct then. And also, the way it went last time, we signed the purchase agreement after we negotiated. And now it's been revised and prepared and signed already and approved, and then to come to us at the end. So it makes it difficult for us to make any changes to that. And it puts pressure on my son to sign it. If it was substantially the same, it probably wouldn't be a problem. It looks like there's some changes in emissions. One thing I'll bring up is that the offer is now from 2019, but basically 2020, but the comps were from 2019. It's 4 years down the road now. And, you know, prices of property have changed. I don't know if we necessarily want to revisit that or not, but it's getting kind of stale there. And in the appraisal, it said there was basically it was good for 1 year. So we're well beyond that. Now, some of that's on us, but some's not. So yeah, I guess you know my concerns. The other one was, would you consider other types of sales, different acreages or other contingencies if there's no parking lot going to go in on the eastern property there? And that's basically all I had. I don't know if there's any back and forth or you just take comment.
Normally, there's not in the comment period. However, let me ask you, Barry, taking into account the concerns that Brett has brought up, what do you think would be the best way? And given that there has been a fair number of reconsiderations based on this parking lot issue, I think we're not completely clear because I certainly hadn't heard of this other parking lot or exploration for a parking lot, right? Were they testing the soil? And
Right.
so maybe
They
so,
took out
maybe not.
vegetation. They left the big trees, but they removed small brush and trees. So one, I thought that was against the rules, but I haven't read the deed or anything, but.
I wonder what we can do to clarify the circumstances, so we know the basis on which we're having any discussions regarding changes in any agreement that may be in the, you know, ready to be completed. what do you think is the course that we might take to do that?
Yeah, I came in early today to see if I could see Anna Cohen, the Parks Director, and she wasn't in. So I would say that the next step for me is to clarify what their current thinking is for access there. Is it gonna be on the preserve as it exists now, sort of toward the bottom of the hill? Or is it still intended to be as part of this proposed purchase area?
Yeah, we need to find out from Anna if she's been in direct contact with the highway people to know that they have given the okay for this other site and rejected the one that we're considering.
I do not, that's what I don't know.
Yeah,
That may be the case at this point.
right. So, Brett, looks like we have a little more work to do here, to figure out where things are going before we start finalizing any deal regarding.
Sorry, Barry, I know you're at it with all this, but we only get one chance at this on our side. And we want to make sure we do it right. So I guess I thought the road commission was involved from the get-go, but I'd be happy to get them out there or scoring whatever. I did some measurements. I thought it met it. So, you know, for the property we're selling. As far as site
I can't
distance.
speak for the other commission that, you know, has apparently had something to do with
Yeah.
whether they want a lot, so I'm reluctant to say any more, Brett. But thank you for coming. I hope we can settle this amicably so that everybody's happy with the best possible situation.
I think we can. I think we're close, actually, but this is just kind of a curveball, and we just want to kind of find out what's going on, and we'll go from there.
Right.
All right?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
It's good to have your input.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for letting me speak.
You're welcome.
It was nice meeting you.
Nice of you to come in.
We do support the work you guys do.
Thanks, Brett. So impressive, 200 years.
Yeah, yeah,
That is cool.
yeah. I think we're the longest in Dexter schools.
Was it one of the original land grants?
Yeah.
Wow.
How long
Goes
since,
back to Quig.
how long
Quig
since
was
it's been a
the
working,
name?
Yeah.
Quig? Wow.
how long since it's been a working farm in the back there?
That's been a farm ever since they opened it.
Last, when we visited, it was sort of all grown up.
Oh, now it's, since my father-in-law passed away, about 5 years now.
I see.
It's hard to believe it's grown up so fast.
It has.
A lot of models are taking over out there, so that's something that Barry might want to get some people in and burn it or something.
Parks people do not.
Yeah, that's I don't think you'd want to try to get rid of it. It's gonna be difficult.
All right, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Brett.
Thanks.
All right, boy, this is an intimate experience. Nobody looking over.
We could use all kinds of colorful language today. It'd be recorded.
Well,
Is that, pardon me, well, is that a matter for closed session?
no, well, there's the agreement signed
It's
already.
arguable at this point, I would say. If they don't consider the previous purchase agreement to be valid, then
Yeah,
we're,
back at the beginning.
it's in my open session report for today, but
Oh,
I
it
think
is.
there's a fair argument to make this be a closed session.
Might go back in next month. All right, other commissions, who has attended other commissions or can give us insight, including the Sustainability Task Force?
I'm gonna have to say that they rescheduled the TAP meeting from next week to, I thought yesterday, but it was actually Tuesday, and so I didn't go at all because I thought it was yesterday and it was really Tuesday, so I cannot report on TAP, except that I know it was 30 minutes long, and I believe all they did was approve the pros plan,
Right. the joint-
or forward
joint
it onto the
resolution.
board, yes. So the last I heard about the merger of TAP and Parks is that Anna was drafting a proposal for that, and then it would eventually, maybe in January, go before the board. You know, that would be optimistic. And then the board would have to decide, you know, if the parameters were appropriate and decide to do that. It would be, so it'd be into next year if that would happen. So as far as parking lot issues, I don't even know who would be handling it right now. I guess Anna. would.
Anna's got to be the
Yeah.
person we start with.
Yeah.
And, you know, I guess it goes to show how we do need the cross representation, so we can cause these kinds of issues in the future.
Is Hop going back onto that?
Hob has resigned.
He resigned us, but
He's on planning commission and
Is he already? How did he get
I
up?
think he may also be in Parks and Recreation. He said he wanted to go on the planning. Yeah,
so he's on the planning commission now.
We don't know.
He wanted to be.
yeah, and the reappointments are going to be made maybe in the next week. Right now, that's why we are down to people. We have our candidates, but they're not reappointed. Or they're not appointed. So we can't say he is or he isn't.
Janine is one of the candidates. This.
So do we have, what about the sustainability task force? Have we got anything there?
Yeah, Marty and I can report on that.
At least for our part.
Marty and I take part in the subgroup, what do we call ourselves? Anyway, it's a subgroup that works on water issues. You know, it's the one subgroup that most has to do with this group. Is water, open land, and agriculture, or farms. And the overall task force, as I think you guys know, has to do with roads and buildings and all kinds of stuff that
Solid
Marty
waste.
and I don't get involved with, but the overall sustainability group is involved with that. I don't know too much about that. I was away for a month. Marty, did you go to that presentation to the
On the
board?
14th,
Huh?
on November 14th?
Yeah, Jen, yeah, you were there?
Yeah,
Oh, it was by Zoom, wasn't it?
it was by Zoom, yeah. And, well, there are about 5 subgroups in sustainability, of which our group is one. One is solid waste and waste management, and one is buildings, how buildings can be made better for the future. What else? That's 3.
Transportation,
Oh, yes, transportation, and one more.
our group, and there's one more.
Energy, food,
Hmm?
energy, food.
Well, food's gonna be in ours, because it's gonna be agriculture,
Oh, it is, okay.
yeah.
So Jan Culbertson made a report to the Board of Trustees back there, November
Yeah.
14th. And I was not in the car, but I was in California.
And, well, each of us, each subgroup had a report
Yeah.
in which and they were very much made smaller.
I
We reported what the issue is about, and then what the goals are for our subgroup, and then what possible actions.
Right. And Janine LeBrat presented for our subgroup, which has to do with water and open land and agriculture. And she did a good job of it. And so, you know, the overall plan was presented to the Board of Trustees. Evidently, it was received quite well. The Sustainability Task Force as a whole is kind of putting together a climate action plan, but it's bigger than that. You know, it's sustainability into the future for what do we need to do to best sustain this community here. And so it involves all those issues.
Yeah.
We are now refining that plan. There's
Yeah,
price
each
tag.
group they're gonna have another presentation in the spring sometime, I think March or so. And
Right.
And we are getting our heads together to decide, okay, the general approval of our goals. But
Right,
now we're
goals and-
specific actions we're getting into.
That's
Here,
it.
these we plan to do.
Goals and actions. And one of the things we're, on the agriculture side, we're trying to do, and Marty's friend Margaret Engel is helping us do
Yeah, she's
this.
joined our group.
We're trying to catalog bury all of the farms.
Yeah, and Margaret sent me an email about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I started to respond to it. I've got, there might be a couple more out there that I haven't thought of yet, so I'm in the
Oh,
process
great.
of getting back to her.
Awesome.
Try to get the structure of farming in Scio Township.
Yep, and Barry, just FYI, I went into the FSA office and asked for a listing of all the farms and what is it, Freedom of Information Act? And you gotta go through the Lansing office, so we're gonna do that. And we just wanna map out every map, every farm in the township. So we know how many acres there are, what percent it is. You may already know that, do you?
No,
Oh,
well, I mean,
I mean,
we have our table of priority properties broken up by agriculture and natural areas. And so
right,
that's, a decent idea about how many acres are owned.
anyway, you're a great resource. Megan DeLue is a great resource. We're gonna try to go through the FSA to get, their data too. So that's one of the actions that we're taking.
It does say in this report that in 2020, agriculture was 5,513 acres, which was 27.8% of the land mass in
Thank
Scio.
you. Where'd that come from?
I found it in the pros plan. So, and I couldn't help but notice that, I mean, they have in
2020.
in 2015, of course, they lump it together with ag and rural residential, which seems a little bit difficult to ascertain difference when they're not apples to apples. But in 2015, it was 10,292 acres. And I'm thinking, well, that's awfully sad. If it is apples to apples, it's almost half of the ag land. But it does show 2 years ago, 5,500.
Okay, good. So we'll try to get that broken down.
Yeah, and more to fulfill that, the hope is, what is the size of each of these farms? And what are they specializing in? What are they selling? What are they doing, producing? And then what are their retail outlets? What kind of connections do they have? Which is really would complete the whole structure of the agriculture scene in the township.
What would
Okay.
we do with the information?
Well, that's another step. Start with where you are.
So that fee, I know you want to move along, but that feeds into the Land Conservation Commission and that, we've got properties now, we're gonna have more that we're gonna want to find farmers for. Right, we'll probably do some more buy, protect, sell and so we're trying, as a matter of fact.
Well, one of our goals is to strengthen the retail, in the no farms, no food. Strengthen, if we can, the retail possibilities for these farmers to see if we can provide strength for them,
Right.
support for them.
Food production, right.
And on the green space, one of my objectives is, well, first of all, to see if I can figure out a way to figure out what the tree canopy is like. What percentage of Scio is tree canopy, covered by tree canopy? And then another thing I want to do is to document larger impervious spaces, parking lots, like what we've got with Myers. How much of Scio's land is covered in impervious land, impervious surface, and not only parking lots, but also turf that's not pervious, won't accept water. And so see if we can document that and then decide, okay, what can we do to reduce the amount of impervious surface in the township? So
I think Norm Roller does that for a living, doesn't he? Aerials to ascertain those sorts of things like canopy.
he does, what's his business?
It's like high tech. I mean, I can talk to you offline, but it's related.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's been one of my questions. Where do I get that information? I was about to go talk to Doug Wow.
All right, well, thank you.
One other question. Did you say that the board has received a preliminary plan from all of these 6 groups?
They have listened to a preliminary, a report.
Okay, like an
first cut
oral
report.
report.
What?
An oral report, or is there something?
No, it
in
was
writing?
a Zoom report. It was at the Zoom meeting of the sustainability on the 14th of November.
Oral, okay, okay, good idea. I get it. Thank you.
Okay, That's
Well, they
fine.
printed it out. Yeah, I mean, the report is printed out.
It is, okay. Very good.
All right, Board of Trustees meeting, they did not meet this past Tuesday, I think, but they are meeting the 13th, maybe? I think that's what they
So
said.
Tuesday is.
At which point certain of our business will come up, including reconsideration of Barry's contract. Appointment of us again, for those of us who have been around longer, for a new term. And what was the other one, Barry?
And 2 new appointments.
Huh?
2 new appointments.
Right,
And then the application for the state PA 116 program for my.
right, Vestergaard is looking for something which doesn't really need to concern us. It's a way for him to get a little bit of a tax break, given that he's already got an easement. He can potentially claim a state tax credit for the fact that his land is under easement. But that's for the board, not for us to really worry about at this point. I think that's the state of what's expected at the board. There's always the unexpected at the Board of Trustees, so tune in Tuesday and find out. Maybe things have settled down though a little bit with regard to the Board of Trustees. Anybody have that sense?
Yeah,
That
Marty knows. They
Well,
met-
I started, there was a meeting on Saturday. And the purpose of the meeting, I think, was to work out working procedures, to see if they could figure it out. They spent
was a retreat like a workshop for the Board of
Yeah,
Trustees? Yeah.
with no actions, specific actions to be taken, but a lot of verbal agreements to be made. And it lasted, 5.5 hours.
Oh, my God.
Well,
Yes.
maybe they needed that long to work it out. Was it
Well, I'm not
contentious?
sure they worked it out. No. After an hour and a half, I left, and then I came back in on Sunday and
It was still
listened to the
going.
last hour.
Oh, my God.
It's on, you can hear the recording. I went and listened
Oh,
to
really?
part of it after you told.
So we've got trouble ahead?
Well, I mean, I think there's some things to work out.
Yeah, that's the way to think about it.
Are we on record?
Yes, but I think, yeah, that's just a fact. I mean, they're working on, with the new board, and they're working on
Yes,
New-
there's a
new
new
procedures
dynamic,
for doing things, yeah.
and I think the new board members are taking an active role.
Good.
And I have hopes that they will help to smooth things out, but it's a little rough at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, anything more on the Board of Trustees?
First you form, then you storm, then you perform.
Extended storm period here?
That's really great. I'm sorry, Steve.
Okay.
Put that in, I'll put that in.
All right, and we're all hoping for climate change, right? That's going to improve the situation.
Yeah. Well, there are, where I left, they were in the midst of deciding how they were gonna produce a newsletter. They all agreed that the township needs to have a newsletter. But how that would happen was still to be worked out.
Okay, well, I sent in a contribution based on Will Hathaway's urging and Jim Murdy specifically asking me for it. Now, I don't know where it's gone to.
For what?
There was no acknowledgement about the LPC and what we do and how you could, nominate your property and how lucky we are to have 10 more years.
You sent in a contribution.
I sent it for the newsletter, yeah.
newsletter.
Oh,
They solicited just an article from all the commissions.
Yeah. great.
But we'll see if that actually appears in there. All right, let's move on then to, I've got it as old business, main reason we're meeting today, approval of the PROS plan. Chris Nordstrom has put a lot of work into this. How thick is it? How many pages, do you know?
133.
It's quite sophisticated in terms of photos and graphs and charts, right? And I hope you all had a chance to get some glimpse of some of it. It doesn't very much apply to us so much as to parks and recreation and trails, but I looked through it, not in great detail, but I felt comfortable. We're going to have to change a little bit in the frontispiece that talks about who's on what commissions, because hopefully we'll have some new people by then. But here's the joint resolution to recommend adoption of the Scio Township 2023 to 2027 Parks, Recreation and Open Space Master Plan. I'll read it to you, and we should vote to agree to sign it, and I would be the signator on it. Whereas Scio Township has undertaken the update of its 5-year recreation plan, which describes the township's physical and social characteristics, existing paths, preserves, parks, open space and recreation facilities, and the desired actions to be taken to improve our system of paths, preserves, parks, open space and recreation facilities during the period 2023 through 2027. And whereas the Parks, Recreation and Open Space Master Plan's goals and objectives were reviewed as part of a public meeting held on Thursday, August 10th, 2022 at South Township Hall, as well as via public survey made available to residents from July 2nd through August 5th, 2022, with 171 unique responses. And whereas South Township's Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Transportation Alternatives Planning Committee, and Land Preservation Commissions reviewed and discussed the plan during the course of the regular scheduled public meetings in December 2022. And whereas Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan has been made available for public review in a manner required by law, and all comments from the public have and will be considered by the Scio Township Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Transportation Alternatives Planning Committee, Land Preservation Commission, and the Board of Trustees as part of the formal adoption plan. And whereas the plan was developed for the benefit of the entire community, now therefore be it known that Scio Township Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Transportation Alternatives Planning Committee, and Land Preservation Commission recommend the adoption of the Scio Township in the name of the plan, master plan.
What do they call the full plan?
Full plan's name is Scio Township 2023 to 2027 Parks, Recreation and Open Space Master Plan.
All right.
By the Board of Trustees, January 10th, 2023. So that's a target date for the Board of Trustees. And then they've asked for the signature from Andy Turner from the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Roy Townsend from the Transportation Alternatives Planning Committee, and me, Scio Township Land Preservation Commission. It's funny, one is a board, one's a committee, and one's a commission. I don't know how that got dissimilar, but so my inclination is to sign this and get it to Chris. And it's not extremely timely, but I think it's an ASAP, so the whole process can move along. There'll be yet another public hearing about it. There's still time to incorporate any changes. This isn't saying we have read every page and we agree with every word, comma. But it's kind of a pro forma thing, just say we think it's a good idea and we approve and we want it to go to the board. So,
And I think the deadline for getting it to the state is February 1st.
yeah.
And so we're backing off from that. And it's necessary to have in place for grant applications.
Yeah.
And it has to be approved across the board by that.
But
Submitted to the state.
submitted, approved by the Board of Trustees, recommended by all these our three groups, then approved by the board, then submitted to the
So
state.
does that
And a public hearing in
statement
there.
say that we approve this
Yes.
as written?
Yes,
Okay, I do have some questions.
I think you should write them down and we'll send it with the resolution if we can.
Because he sent this out originally October 28th.
Yeah,
And
I
so.
think
Yeah, we did ask for the comments
okay.
twice
and
before.
I think, yeah, within a week, you said, can you get your comments in?
But I don't think it should be a formality that you missed the deadline. If you see there's things that are wrong,
Yeah,
are they wrong or is it punctuation or?
I have, well, for one thing, I was wondering for that, I was curious why we did not mention anything climate related, like open space in terms of climate mitigation. Because I thought that was part of the rationale for having open space for part of climate mitigation, but I guess that's a bigger issue than us. And I think I did comment about, I realize they're the parks and recreation, but 3 of the 4 goals are recreation. And I just, it's not all about recreation. I think it's about the preserving of the land for land sale too, but I'm not gonna.
Those are substantive concerns that I think maybe we missed the deadline for.
Yeah,
Because the public hearing was in, earlier in the year,
Right.
and where we did our comments, and actually Chris spoke to your last point, didn't he? About it's called, recreation.
Yeah, 'cause
That
I
word
did
is
bring
in
that
it.
up.
You did bring that up, yeah. And he just said kind of that's what it's called.
I
for-
know.
For all communities, that's what.
and I
it-
remember saying I'm a
State.
word person, and it's just, I
Yeah,
don't want
I
us to
know,
get
right.
too focused on
Yeah.
recreation, it's a bigger picture.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
then, yes, I do have little nitpicky things, like we say LPC before stating what it means, usually the first reference, you spell it out, and you put LPC. But,
Yeah, I appreciate your attention to detail, Lisa.
but I'm with you.
My sense of it is, he's meeting the requirement. He's really gone overboard,
Yeah, I mean,
far
it's
beyond
really
what he needs to
impressive.
do
Yeah,
to have this on file. My thought was, I wonder how many townships in the state have gone to this level
yeah,
and this expense. I mean, I'm a little embarrassed as to how much money that must have cost in order to
yeah.
put together a plan which has no purpose other than to say we're here and we're ready to go to work, But that's not the comment that I forwarded. I mean, he knows what he's supposed to do, and presumably he has the intelligence to understand what the state needs, and it should make a pretty good impression as to, the fact that there's people on the job as paid professionals and volunteers and thinking forward. So I do want to accommodate your concerns as best we can.
I mean, I did state them previously.
I wonder though, if we can't do both of those things, if we can communicate with Chris and say, hey, I just noticed these couple things. LPC isn't defined or whatever. There is gonna be a public hearing and a chance for public comment.
Right, which
And
tells
so-
us that
and
it's
so
not
that
fun.
So that happens before it is submitted to the state.
And if I recall,
So I
when
do
you
think
look
it's-
at it, it says draft on the thing, right? It doesn't say final. Do you recall, Lisa, when you opened it up in
December.
Acrobat?
It says adopted December XX,
Yeah.
so implying that it's
Yeah.
a draft, yeah.
If there
Oh, and the
are
file
errors-
name had said draft, I believe.
If there are
When
errors,
is-
I think we have time.
I'm
Sorry. Go.
When does the public comment happen and how?
I don't know the answer to that. Will, do you?
Is it in here?
So can I just say one thing?
Yes.
It's almost like the goals, every sentence is about a bigger picture, and then it ends with recreation. And a bigger issue, and then it ends like, we should provide clean, safe, and healthy environments. That's a big, important issue. Then it says for outdoor recreation. It's like, wait a minute, do we want safe drinking water and safe, so it sort of takes a huge issue and then just funnels it down to outdoor recreation. And then we should consider future needs of the community to take action to meet current and future needs for recreation.
Yeah, and I think it should, part of that, I mean, somewhere it should mention agriculture, and that we want to get more farms producing food for citizens here.
Well, I don't get that from this.
Open
I
space.
just get recreation, recreation, recreation. And if they're gonna use this to justify costs in the future, it's gonna be like, well, see, 3 out of 4 of our goals are about,
I think part of it is the audience which requires this. I don't think we're talking about state climate task force or sustainability. It's for the people who are funding recreational projects.
yeah, that's the mindset, but
I know, it would be nice to have a similar document for purposes
Broader.
more aligned with what we're trying to do with climate
Yeah.
and preservation of space. And
yeah,
Well, maybe the
Sustainability.
sustainability is where that happens.
maybe that is, yeah.
yeah, well, maybe we can get Chris to do another one of these for us.
Get him to work for Jan.
Right, I don't know how much it was, but it was a lot.
But
So-
as a citizen, I would press for some mention of agriculture as a use for open space. and
Yeah,
Necessary and useful. Ask them to include that.
Would you like to send that comment along with this draft?
Yeah.
Okay,
I will.
all right, and I invite you to send your comments as well.
How so?
I mean,
email you.
yeah, you want to do that? Email it to me, and then I will check with Chris and we'll append the files to my email to him saying, these are the comments as we discuss this in great detail.
It'll come up in the open session. I think one thing we ought to do is make a point of being at that open session. At the
The public review session.
Yeah,
What's the date of that?
There is, I don't know the date.
You don't have a
The
date?
date early, the one earlier was the one that very few people came to.
Yeah.
When
This
do
is
you
going to
want-
go before the Board of Trustees on January 10th, so it must be before that, but I haven't seen it scheduled. Is it on the township calendar? Do you know? Anybody's
Don't know.
in a position
Well,
to check
I mean,
that?
January 10th is coming up really fast.
Yeah, the holidays and all.
Well, when do you want my input, Lisa's?
How soon could you do it?
I
This
mean,
week? This
there's
week?
no time to change anything in this, really.
Well.
I don't know if that's the
it's
case.
input, and it doesn't have to go into the plan and change it.
Yeah.
It's input.
Input for, yeah, okay.
You know, if nothing else, Chris will remember a certain measure of discontent on our part. He didn't accommodate, our thoughts, if that's appropriate. But I think really the targeted audience for this probably has little concern for, land preservation per se.
And I think
It's
he may be
recreational
Yeah.
activities.
responding to certain questions that you're supposed to answer in one of these things.
I'll have a talk with him.
well, that could be
regarding this.
that's where the money is in the state,
Yeah,
not necessarily for what we're doing.
well, we'll go up to money where it resides,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So what I'd like then is for an approval, a voice vote, to approve the joint resolution as I read it. So I'm going to ask for someone to
Well,
make the proposal. I'll do it, all right?
And I'll second it, but Mary, can we do this with a voice vote or do we have to?
Did,
roll
did,
call?
do you feel like you were, that
Just to
LPC
approve that resolution?
Just to approve Will signing? Oh, okay.
Oh,
Voice.
Will signing that resolution
Yeah.
in support of the pros plan.
It's a voice vote.
Oh, okay.
Is this true that we were involved in all of this that was checked
That
out?
looks good, doesn't it?
I mean,
I
were
think-
we
well-
involved in,
Well, insofar as I was part of meetings where I was present and those things were discussed. All right,
all right, I just wanted to make sure if it's,
it looks good, doesn't it?
it looks good, I just wanted to make sure it was true, that's all.
Will, you're terrible.
Well, if it's, we'll make it true.
All right, okay, you were, all right.
All right, we have a vote. Is there any more discussion here? Then I'll ask for a voice vote by acclaim. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Okay, I was worried.
I know you're worried about it. It's too late, I should have made that one meeting.
Did you
I
count all those ayes?
But he didn't say
Oh,
aye.
yeah, opposed. You can withdraw and change your
Now
vote.
you
if you
need
want.
to
No, I'm good, I'm good.
All right.
Let's move
did you
on.
say opposed?
No, there's no
Oh,
opposed.
there's no.
No.
But you're supposed to ask, right?
You're supposed to ask.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You can miss it.
Okay, so I'm gonna hear from you and not too many pages comment, all right? Just, No. Bullet points.
Chris will be hard, he's working hard on this, so we have to make it precise.
No, I think, I have a feeling Chris will appreciate it. I think he maybe felt like he didn't get enough feedback. I mean, 171 surveys, and there certainly wasn't a lot of feedback from the open session. Did you come to that meeting we had with the poster boards all over?
No, I missed it, I'm
Okay,
afraid to say.
well,
so.
there were all of us there, most of us, and we were there to talk mostly with each other because there weren't that many people
I
from the
know.
public. And I looked to see how many comments were dropped in the boxes, and not very many, or written on the boards, that's the way they did it. So, Chris, maybe appreciate more comments, I don't know. All right, thank you. We're gonna try to finish by 4:30, by the way, for purposes that have been expressed to me. We've approved the pros plan, new business. Let's talk about where we are, and again, this is being recorded, so I don't want to specifically mention names who've kind of come up as possible representatives. Will Hathaway called me somewhat urgently and said, all right, so who is it gonna be that you wanna? And he's been talking with one of the Board of Trustee members who maybe has agreed, but it wasn't absolutely certain. One of the conditions that both of the primary candidates for the commission expressed was, could the meetings please start at 4 o'clock because they're working and getting here at 3 o'clock is a real challenge. Now, I said tentatively, given the quality of the people, that I thought we probably could accommodate that. We did once.
The only reason not to is the logistics, is having Christie, because it's important to have the public be able to come.
Right,
You know,
we did just check with her and she
And
said
she
she'd
said
do it
that she
before she
would-
left.
she would set it up and have it ready to go. So if that works for us, I don't see any other reason not to.
Unless
This
we
is
split.
preferable to you, right?
It would help you too, wouldn't it?
4
Yeah, to be later is helpful. What if we split the difference and said 3:30?
Well,
The two
I
of
can
them want
negotiate
4.
that, I suppose, but 4 was what was specifically requested by both parties.
I'll make it work,
It-
whatever.
All
The
right,
only thing is the stress level will just shoot up if we cannot get that thing working.
Yeah.
That's something to
Exactly.
consider.
yeah,
Yeah,
We just get Christie to set it up 5 minutes ahead of time.
that's what we tentatively said we would probably do, because she was appraised that it might be a change. Marty, is that okay with you, 4
Oh,
o'clock?
absolutely, I
Okay,
do it
and
either
Barry,
way.
that works for you?
Yeah.
answer to myself,
It's
so.
like every other month.
Okay,
Should
well, I
we
don't
call
know.
it? Should we
so
call
are
it
we
4?
are moving to 4 o'clock, back to 4?
You know what, let's leave it where we are, because I don't think we should be planning for the needs of people who are not yet part of our.
Let's get them appointed next week.
But be apprised that you may have to come an hour later, and I'll let you know.
Yeah.
And
Well, I should think
also,
about
we'll have
it.
to change once again the township.
And that's Christie again. So if she's,
Right.
she heard us
Fine.
say.
She
this.
knows what's
Yeah,
going
she
on.
knows. It's just a
Right.
hassle for her, but other than that, she's willing to do it, which is so helpful.
She seems to be on our side here.
Yeah,
Should we call it a,
3:30.
Whatever. wherever you start at 3:30? Or should we call it an hour and a half meeting and just take more time if we need to, but should we call it a 4 to 5:30 or 3:30 to 5 or whatever it is? Should we call it
That's
now?
aspirational. I'm willing to see if we can
It's
do
gonna
that.
be aspirational, isn't it? I
Can
mean,
we all understand the implications of that? Means we'll have to move things along a little faster.
if we need to.
We've
take
needed 2
more time,
hours.
We can.
We're pretty efficient.
Well, if you have it, you'll use it, I mean, if we, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
If we need more time, we can always take it, right?
Well, what if then we're the group that always goes over? And I hate that,
Yeah, I do too.
Because we can shorten it up. If we're done in an hour and a half, we can stop.
Tim, I heard you, and I'm gonna make it my personal goal to make our 2-hour time period only stretch an hour and a half.
It doesn't affect me. Honestly, I'm thinking about the future and attracting people to be part of the LPC and
Right.
the 2-hour
No,
commitment.
it's
4 to
fair.
6 pumps in
Fair.
at dinner time and
Yeah, and we're all busy with other things, right? Sure, sort of. Those of us who are retired. All right, you should get retired soon, it's really nice.
She's way too young.
I told my husband, I just want to be,
All right, so Will Hathaway assures me that he's on the job to get these 2 people, and the one of whom her name was mentioned. I spoke with 2 people for over an hour on the phone to sort of vet them. And the one guy was real concerned about having to come personally, he wanted to come by Zoom because he's
Oh.
COVID fears. He said, well, we pretty much decided that one, you're gonna have to be here.
You have to,
by law, right?
to vote,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and even to participate in the meetings, but I understand, you can be a member of the.
So
public.
I haven't heard from him again. I said, let me know. He's gonna talk it over with his wife, and I think maybe they decided he wasn't in. So that left our other candidate. I'm glad you
So-
identified her.
May I ask, at the last meeting, I wondered if we could ask Chris from Huron River Watershed Council if she had any recommendations. Did you?
I did ask her that.
And what,
She was gonna send me something and I forgot about that until just now.
okay,
But the candidate that Tim suggested looks really strong.
She's very.
Oh, yeah.
She's great.
So, you know,
You will all.
Strong resume, for sure.
so if there's
Other
another opening,
service.
I'll go back to Chris. I forgot, I did ask her, but she didn't,
Okay.
she said she'd get back to me and didn't.
I mean, it would be great to have a water person.
Yeah, well,
She agrees.
Yeah, okay.
Well, yeah, and that's Janine's part in our subgroup is water, FYI.
Oh, and that's the person.
Okay. Barry, I think we're ready for the open session consultants.
yeah, which is pretty brief. I continue to ask our contact at East Lansing, Brian Thomas, for the $868,550 that the United States government owes us.
Plus interest.
Yeah, good luck on that. I'll be happy to get the principal. And he keeps, his slogan was, I'll poke the bear. So he's poking the bear, but it hasn't shown up here yet. But I keep asking and he keeps asking. Will Hathaway informed me that my contract is about to expire at the end of this month. It was a 2-year contract. And we specified what the hourly rates are in that contract. And if you don't know, for doing baseline documentation work and easement monitoring, I bill $60 an hour and have forever, since I started my company, which was a long time ago. And then the rate for what I call the project work, which is dealing with all the stuff, attending meetings and so forth. That has been $100 an hour for the last year. And we're going to increase that to 105 next year and 110 the following year. Just so you know.
You shouldn't increase your 60? 65?
You know, it's mostly get to walk around outside.
I know,
I
right?
usually do it in the sunshine.
You charge nothing for that.
You
You
know,
should be paying us maybe.
I know, right?
I sometimes think that. And I've thought like, maybe, it's like, yeah, maybe this is pretty good.
Yeah,
You know, if you, you know, I mean, it's a blessing to be able to do it at all and to get paid for it. It's like, yeah, just leave that alone. And that's, you know, a relatively small part of what I, you know, do anyway, so.
These are already agreed upon terms, if you will.
I have sent him a draft contract with those figures in it. Yep, it's the same contract that we've had for the last 2 years. It's just changed those numbers.
Do you need us to approve that?
I mean, it wouldn't hurt, but I mean, I was just doing it to inform you. But if you wanted to say, we think this is a good thing, that would be great.
we do.
Thank you.
Yeah, can I?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do that.
All right, I'd like to move that we express, I'm not sure to who.
Board of Trustees.
Board.
Board of Trustees.
To
Board
the
of Trustees will
board,
approve the contract.
We communicate to the Board of Trustees our approval and appreciation for the service that Barry Lonick provides to our commission in particular. And we'd like to see it continue for another 2 years.
Recommendation of approval of his renewed contract.
Yes. Thank you.
Should we put numbers in there?
No,
No
no.
numbers in
No
there?
numbers.
Is there any support?
It's quite a long, did you read it? It's,
Well, if you mind says Ps and Qs,
Yeah, well, that's true.
we'll have to keep an eye on them.
Yes.
you want to read the draft of what we're voting on before we second it here? Do you have
Do
something,
you want
Liz?
to restate that? I would say something.
Yes, I move that we express as a commission our support to the Board of Trustees for the new renewed contract with Barry Lonick.
Good. We have a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Okay, it's time.
So, do we ever do it, if Barry got hit by a train?
Yes,
I just feel like we need to have some succession planning, like, you know, I worry that you might die And we'll be,
Well, at some point.
He's gonna die.
That's
you're
our
gonna
fate.
die, like, are you
Across
gonna
that
train
bridge.
somebody? Are you gonna be a mentor to somebody or?
Maybe
He's
someday.
young.
You know,
I
I'm not
just-
ready to retire, you know,
Yeah,
and.
You don't have any employees, do you?
No,
He's a young-
it's just enough work to keep me busy.
I just think we should keep that in our tickler
Oh.
file, thinking about, I mean, what are we gonna do long-term? Because, I mean,
Right, I mean, you know, anything could happen, obviously. My health is very good,
yeah,
partially because I spend so much time outside. And I have no intention of retiring anytime.
yeah,
You know, I'm not, you know, 2 millages just got extended
Yeah.
or approved for 10 years, and I'm thinking, you know, sounds like a good, you know, I'm 61 years old.
mhm.
So I thought, yeah,
And you're gonna stay away from the railroad tracks.
yeah, promise. Yes, so, I mean, I think I'll be after it for a while,
Yeah,
but something could happen, that's for sure, and there does need to be a contingency in that regard.
so I mean, we're renewed for another 10 years. You think you'll be around for another 10 years?
It's quite possible. I like,
He's
this is
got the
fun
signs
stuff.
in his barn. He's got the signs in his barn. He's got it.
Yes,
Yeah, you
ready to
got
go for
our
the next one.
signs,
I don't know
so
if I'll last beyond that, but you know, it's fun stuff,
just, yeah,
you know,
There's more.
and it's not, you know, physically demanding most of the time. If I go out and, you know, hike 6 properties in a day or
yeah,
monitoring, so like I'm tired at the end of that day, but other than that, you know, it's not physically demanding. It's fun.
Yeah.
I just keep doing this. This is great.
Right.
It's, you know,
Sure.
I make plenty of time for myself also, you know.
well, I see that.
I
Do
get
you
off on,
ever stay
you know,
home at night?
Well, we're usually working the day.
Yeah.
All right, any further relevant discussion here? That's relevant. I mean,
Yeah, my
I'm
first
asking for
part
more
was.
like that.
Yeah.
Yes, vote. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed? How dare anybody do that?
Thank you. And then, so if we're gonna move the wisely and fixed matter to closed session, which I think we should do at this point. Then there's no further update on the Delhi Woods property. We're just waiting for him to tell us.
Okay, so do a motion. That's it for open session then?
That is
Would
correct.
you remind me, who was the second on Barry's motion? Marty, thank you.
If we're gonna go into closed session.
We are, I
somebody
think,
has
we
to
have a
take
reason to go into closed session, right?
Yes,
Yeah, okay. Do we have a
a
motion?
brief discussion.
I move that we move into closed session.
Second?
To discuss pending property valuation. Yes,
Yeah. So we have a second?
and I'll second that.
All right,
No.
moved and seconded.
And we do need to
We
do
vote.
a roll call for
Roll call
that.
vote. I'll get it. Well, so we're actually in closed session.
What?
I'll turn it off. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
The vote should be.
Call the vote.
Yep, Marty,
Aye.
Lisa,
kidding. Has it always been 2 years and 2 years? that
No,
you-
this is for the closed session.
Oh,
Move
closed
to
session,
go into
yes.
closed session.
I approve, yes.
We better close
Yeah,
it here.
yeah,
We
no.
better get this done.
Will,
Yes.
your
and I'm a
I
yes.
did.
To vote no.
I wanted to, I'm like, we should change it to
All right,
10 years.
I'm gonna shut down the Zoom for our closed session.
It was, sometimes we did it open-ended,
Did you,
when there was
you
no
buried
deadline.
it?
And sometimes we did it for, in different townships have done different things. Sometimes it's been for 1 year.
Is it for 2 years?
Is it
This
for
one's
2
for 2
now?
years.
Oh,
That
that's good.
we might want to change the pay after 2 years.
That's correct.
You never know what's gonna happen with inflation.
I'm missing all my cues here. Who did the closed session? Was it Will? Will did it.